A very important topic, urticaria, is going to be discussed in this video. Hello dear students, myself Dr. Maddineni Srinivas, your dermatology faculty from Bharat. So let us begin the discussion without any further delay. So this was a question asked in the DNB examination December 2025 in the paper 2, test for diagnosis of chronic urticaria and how do you treat the urticaria in the pregnancy and cholinergic urticaria. Into the cholinergic urticaria. So this CHU is cholinergic urticaria, CU is the chronic urticaria, right? So remember here this is very interesting because if the patient is having sweating, that is going to induce because of the physical exertion or because of simple warming of the body or because of emotional stimuli, whatever may be the reason, because of which if there is increased sweat production, this sweat itself is going to cause the degranulation of the mast cells. Very interesting, whereby it is going to produce mainly hair follicle oriented wheals. So they are going to be very small pinpointed wheals which will be seen over the body, throughout the body, right? And very interestingly, this affects adolescents and the young adults who are having atopic dermatitis more than the normal population, and it is usually rare in the elderly populations. So coming to the pathophysiology, so remember this cholinergic urticaria, it is driven by the activation of the sympathetic cholinergic nerves innervating the eccrine sweat glands. So we are discussing about the sweat, okay, here it is eccrine sweat glands. So here if you see carefully, this is the epidermis, the dermis, and here we have this eccrine sweat glands, and these postganglionic sympathetic nerves, they are going to release this acetylcholine, because of which there is going to be sweat production, and that is what is the sweat is going to cause the urticarial lesions in two ways. One is directly and the second one is indirectly. So what is this exactly, we are going to see that, but before that you must know that the acetylcholine is going to be released upon body temperature elevation, and it is going to cause this sympathetic fibers ultimately stimulating and releasing the acetylcholine, and this acetylcholine specifically binds to the M3 receptors, muscarinic receptors on the eccrine glands and also the surrounding mast cells. So these are the two structures on which this acetylcholine can act, right? And here what happens, so this is a normal which you can see, please try to focus on this normal. So here this red one is acetylcholine, so this acetylcholine is going to attach to this receptor. This is a M3 receptor, or we can also call it as CHRM3, cholinergic receptor muscarinic 3, M3. So there is going to be normal phenomenon, that is a sweating. So in the case of the cholinergic urticaria, the problem is that in the direct pathway, this is the one pathway, direct pathway, there is going to be reduced expression of this receptor on the eccrine epithelial cells. So then what will happen when there is a stimulus to cause a sweat production, there will be acetylcholine released, and this acetylcholine is going to sit on either the eccrine sweat glands or this mast cells. But because in these patients, the cholinergic urticarial patients, there is this reduced expression of the cholinergic receptor on the eccrine glands, so there is going to be activation of the mast cells because of this ACH overflow, because it is not being used acetylcholine. So this will trigger the mast cell degranulation. So this is one way, that is direct way through which cholinergic urticaria can be developed. The other one is indirect way, in which case what happens is the sweat which is produced, it is going to leak into the surrounding dermis. Due to there is going to be sweat duct obstruction or pleural occlusion in these patients, and this sweat is going to trigger the IgE-mediated type 1 hypersensitivity against the antigens present in the patient's own sweat. So that is, patients are having in this indirect pathway, they are having antibodies against the sweat. So it's going to culminate in rapid mast cell degranulation. So ultimately in both these direct and also indirect pathway, this there is going to be this overflow in the case of direct one, where there is going to be mast cell degranulation leading to the release of histamine. Here in the indirect, there is going to be sweating, damage or obstruction of the sweat ducts is there. Because of this, a sweat is going to leak, and the sweat allergy is there in the patient. Sweat is going to act as an antigen, very interestingly, and unfortunately So it is going to attach onto the IgE. It's a type 1 hypersensitivity reaction. So ultimately this is going to cause degranulation and histamine release. So this flowchart is again telling you the same thing. Here it's again, right? So ultimately there is going to be wheal and flare response. So these are called as cholinergic hives. So the reason is because whatever may be the stimulus, emotional stimulus or warming or physical exertion, they are all producing the sweat. They are all because of the acetylcholine release, and this acetylcholine direct and indirect pathways is going to produce this pinpoint hair follicle oriented urticarial wheals, right? So coming to the clinical features, how does these lesions look? Highly characteristic tiny pinpoint 1 to 3 mm papular wheals will be there. Very, very interesting. And these are going to be pale erythematous papules which are surrounded by broad vivid erythematous flare all halo. So it is going to mainly involve the upper half of the trunk, the neck and the face. But remember, it's going to very interestingly spare the palms, soles and the axillae, right? And the course is going to be whenever there is any trigger, immediately within 2 minutes or 20 minutes gap, within this period the patient is going to develop all these wheals all over the body, and it is going to resolve spontaneously within a period of half an hour to 2 hours in the same patient once the body cools, right? And what could be the other systemic symptoms? Patients could also have lacrimation, salivation, abdominal pain, diarrhea, headache, dizziness, palpitations and also wheezing because of the bronchospasm, right? So how can you diagnose this cholinergic urticaria? Diagnosing and also provocation. So we can identify this and differentiate from another very important close differential which is called as EIA, exercise induced anaphylaxis. So the exercise, that is physical exertion, can also produce anaphylaxis which could also have these symptoms. That is the reason why differentiating between these two conditions, cholinergic urticaria and exercise induced anaphylaxis, is very, very important, and that can be done very, very easily, like just follow this flow chart. What we can do is clinical suspicion, if at all it is there, we can do the exertion induced eruption. So in this case what we are going to do is step 1, we are going to actively provocate the wheals. And how are you going to do this? Patient will exercise on the treadmill, okay, on stationary bicycle to a point of sweating. Till the patient is going to develop sweating, we are going to ask the patient to do the exercise. So continue for up to 15 minutes beyond the point where the patient started sweating. So then what can happen to the patient? Has the patient developed any symptoms? Yes or no? So if there are no any symptoms after even after sweating, we are going to call it as test being negative, and this rules out both the active cholinergic urticaria and also exercise induced anaphylaxis. So that is done. So no symptoms, it is negative test. But if the wheals and systemic symptoms are developing, then the test is positive. You must document this reaction, and after 24 hours we must now do step number 2, because here the possibility is that the patient may be having both cholinergic urticaria or exercise induced anaphylaxis. So then second step, we are going to differentiate between both of them and we are going to come to a final conclusion. Next step, what we are going to do is simple. We are going to passively heat the patient's body. Till what point? Till the point that the patient's body temperature is going to rise by 1 degree Celsius. Then what happens, depending upon whether the patient is having any lesions or not, we can easily differentiate. If the patient develops the wheals because of warming, so it is going to confirm the diagnosis that yes, the patient is having cholinergic urticaria. But if after we have warmed the patient's body, there is no any symptoms, though no wheals, nothing, then we can say that it is exercise induced anaphylaxis. Okay, this is how you can easily differentiate between these two conditions with step number 1 and step number 2. Step number 1, bicycle exercise. Step number 2, warming the patient. Right? And also there is this methacholine skin test where we are going to inject intradermally the methacholine. There is going to be satellite papules in which are going to be present surrounding the intradermal injection site. So how to manage these patients of cholinergic urticaria, general measures are obviously we should advise the patient to reduce the stress, reduce the exertion, reduce the hot baths and also spicy foods, because they are going to aggravate and cause this increased sweating, right. First line pharmacotherapy is again the second line non-sedating antihistamines, which are going to cetirizine, fexofenadine, and we can also updose it. Second line refractor options which we can use is because this is associated in the indirect pathway because of the sweat acting as an antigen. So we can use the anti-IgE, the molecule which is omalizumab. And also anticholinergics can be used, scopolamine, but they are very difficult to be used routinely because of their adverse effects. Beta blockers, propranolol combined with antihistamines is effective in suppressing the stress-induced flares. Desensitization protocols, but these are not very routine use. There are so many desensitization protocols, but they are very difficult to be done practically. So that's why we usually keep the medications, or if they are in new medications, we are going to utilize them in the patients. And most importantly, in the cholinergic urticaria, we should ask the patient to avoid this exposure to the unnecessary cold to hot environments. So this transition should not be done routinely. So that's it in this video, students. If it was helpful, please do that like button, and if you want more such videos on a regular basis, put in the comment section. Thank you, sir, so that I will get motivation. And also do subscribe this channel if you are not yet subscribed, and also do hype this video if it was really helpful. Thank you so much. Happy learning. We'll meet again in the next video soon. Bye bye.